Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Apollo's Odyssey. I'm your host, Apolla Asteria, and I'm finally back. I'm sorry it's been so long. I was actually on some wild adventures up in Mount Shasta, and I ended up climbing that mountain I told you all about in my last episode, and I survived. I got to the top and I survived, and I did do I filmed a lot of that adventure of climbing the mountain, climbing the Half Dome in Yosemite. So that's going to be coming out soon. I actually wanted to set it to premiere last Tuesday for my Tuesday show because I was actually back in town Tuesday, but unfortunately, I had issues with my laptop. I wanted to set that episode to premiere while I was on set for Reno 911, but on Tuesday. But yeah, unfortunately, I was having some issues with my laptop when I was in the middle of editing it, and I thought my laptop was broken, but it's not. It's fine. So I'm back, and I'm actually leaving again. But I'm really trying to stay consistent with like when I travel, keeping my show still going while I'm traveling. So from now on, I'm really trying to make sure that I never accidentally schedule flights for Tuesdays or Thursdays. And if for some reason I do, I will have something pre-programmed and ready to go. It's been really crazy lately. It's like every time I'm back in town, I think, okay, I'm going to be in town for a while. I'm going to get some stuff done. And then I get asked to go to another conference or another adventure. And then I'm like, I don't know if I can afford that. And then people just pay for me to come. So that's been my life lately. And it's just been one thing after another. So I'm actually leaving again Saturday. And I am traveling a little. And then I'm going to be at Camp Disclosure in Georgia. So actually, I'm going to pull that up in case you haven't seen the site. If you want to join me, please do so at Camp Disclosure in Georgia. That is going to be on August 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th in Helen, Georgia. If you want to fly in, you can fly into Atlanta, and I believe it's like a couple hours or so from Atlanta. Not really sure. You could fly in, rent a car, or if you're nearby, you can drive to it. A lot of people are going. So, yeah, it looks like rooms are sold out, but there's, like, hotels nearby because there were, like, cabins or something. Oh, look. Oh, cabins and RV and tent camping is still available. So, yeah, and there's going to be a lot of cool people. Here's all the cool people that are going to be there. And one of the cool people is me, and I'll be speaking there. Alexis Buck, I've had her on my show before. She's going to be speaking there. I actually interviewed about half of these people. Some of them I wasn't able to get around to just because I've been so busy. But yeah, it's going to be a good week. So I'm really excited for that. So that's the last week of this month, and we're going to have some fun there. So if you can, join us, and it'll be a good time. So yeah, it's good to be back in town, and I promise you I did not chop off my hair. I'm having a bad hair day, so it's like pinned back here in case you're wondering. It's like some days it just doesn't want to work out, and that's totally fine. Okay, and then, sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments here. And I have some amazing updates for you guys in regards to this show. And by the way, tonight's show is going to be on the Omphalos Stone. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But so basically, regarding this show, I have been picked up by 2 radio networks, and the second one is not completely confirmed on when exactly I'm starting and everything. But KGRA, I just got off the phone with the producers earlier today, and KGRA is a major radio network that a lot of major people are on, and I have been picked up by them, so I'm going to be starting that September 7th, which is actually a few days before my birthday, so I'm really stoked about that. And it looks like I'm going to be going live every Tuesday for 2 hours with them, and I won't be able to stream that onto my YouTube anymore, unfortunately. But my Thursday shows, which are going to be with another radio network, Aftermath, that's going to be streamed on YouTube. And I'll make sure I throw on other stuff just for YouTube. Like, I'll probably do my one-on-one live updates on YouTube, and then my major interviews I'm going to save for KGRA and for Aftermath. So Aftermath may be more like Aftermath's an hour show. So Aftermath will probably be more of me just going live talking to, and that'll be on this channel. So you'll be able to see me every Thursday still on here. And leading up to that, I'll still be doing my live show every Tuesday on here until I have to switch over to KGRA. So I'm really stoked about this because it's probably going to bring a lot more people over to my channel. And by the way, if you have any products that you would like promoted on a major radio network, please contact me because I am now looking for sponsors for my show. I can basically, I'm looking for people that will pay a monthly fee, like few $100s or so to, I believe, usually probably about a few $100s or so a month to basically have me read out their products. And if you want to be featured on the major commercials with a commercial that you already have made, that would be $500 a month. So please contact me about that if you're interested in that. I need sponsors for my show, and that would help me out a lot. And that will be streamed to like hundreds, like 100,000 people or more. I don't know how many people listen. People all over the country listen to KGRA, and it's like on every major network, Spotify, iHeartRadio, everything. So if you have some products and you want to sponsor my show, please talk to me. Get at me. And you can do that by reaching me at the contact section of my website, www.apollasteria.com. And there is a contact section there. So you can message me on there and let me know what you think about that. So, okay. I'm just reading some of the comments here. Marco says, wait, you're going to KGRA, Bill, to produce you? Yes, I am, Marco. I'm not sure which. I know a few Marcos, so I'm not really sure who you are, Marco. Just to let you know, I don't know if I've met you before, if you're a Marco I know, or you're just out there somewhere and I haven't met you before. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just kind of catching up on all this here. So I'm really stoked about that. Aftermath, I'm supposed to be on Aftermath on Thursdays. Still figuring everything out with that. I'm not sure exactly when I'm starting with that and what exactly. My time slot should be at 5 p.m. Pacific still, but I'm not quite sure. Still working everything out with that, so we'll see. Another thing in regards to all that is, I need to come up with some cool radio stuff, like some cool catchphrases, like an intro thing. So if you have any ideas, throw it out in the comments. I gotta come up with something really catchy and cool. I'm gonna have someone do a voiceover. Fortunately, I already have my intro song, so that's cool. But yeah, I need to come up with some cool catchy thing and little catchphrases and just interesting things like that to throw in there. I haven't really done radio. I mean, I did do radio in high school. I was a part of the speech team. I did radio in the speech team in high school. So I have a little experience. Also, when I was a kid, I got brought onto the local radio station to speak all the time to promote my little brother's liver transplant benefits on a local radio station. So I've actually been doing it for a long time. So pretty interesting. But yeah, it's good to see everyone on here. It's good to be back. It's been so long, I feel like. Oh my gosh. I mean, really, it was only a week and a half or 2 weeks, I guess, but I think it's been 2 weeks, actually. It wasn't last Thursday, but the Thursday before was my last show on here. And man, I just have so much wild stuff. Oh my God. I actually saw a UFO while I was driving up north to Mount Shasta. I totally forgot. I was going to download this and put it on tonight's show, and I totally forgot. I'm so sorry, you guys. But next show, I'll definitely share that with you all. So, also, I gotta work on my radio voice, so I'm used to people seeing me, so I gotta work on what's it gonna be like when people aren't just looking at me. So that's where these catchphrases and things like that are gonna come in handy, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so I'm gonna be at Camp Disclosure. Might have something else going on at the beginning of September. It's looking like, from now on, if I'm not able to, for some reason, make a show because I'm going to be on set, I will like pre-record something and put it on, because I really have to stay steady with all of this now because of being picked up by these radio networks. And I'm thinking, like, my regular YouTube show, I'm probably going to be doing more in regards to editing and scripting things for this show, for YouTube. So, but once I get onto the radio networks, I'll be sure to share with you guys how to check all those out. Aftermath, I'll still be streaming on here, but KGRA, which is going to be like the main show I'm doing, that's probably going to be well, I'm going to be focused on all these shows, but that's the one that's going to be 2 hours long. So, like, most of my major interviews I'll probably be doing on there. So definitely hold tight for that, because I will be giving you all a promo code to sign on with KGRA and check that out. And it looks like I'll actually be introducing Jimmy Church, Faded Black Radio. So every Tuesday I'll be on right before him. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a good time. So if you want to help donate to my show to keep me going, please go ahead and give me some love in the super chats, because I don't know why I haven't got any super chats in a long time, and I'm not begging you all for money. I'm just wondering why I haven't got any super chats, because I was getting a lot. So I'm wondering if there's an issue with my YouTube. So if you send me a super chat, let me know, because I'm wondering if I'm getting some and they're not showing up or coming in. I don't know what's going on with that. So let me know, you guys. Also, Marco says here, buy merch. Yes, please buy my merch. And let me show you what my merch is. I'm sorry, I'm taking such a long time with tonight's intro. I kind of want to wait till everyone gets on here before I really dive into what I'm talking about today. And I just have so much to announce. Like, it's fun to play around with you guys. I've been gone for so long. So it's good to be back. Let me see here. Oh, okay. Shaman spheres, which are, in case you don't know by now, which you should know by now, are my uniquely handcrafted energy channeling devices, which I have invented myself. That's me right there, dressed as a sorceress. And yeah, so basically, shaman spears, I invented all these myself. They all have copper coils, crystals, magnets, and sand I collect from sacred places around the world down the insides, because the insides are hollow because they're made out of bamboo. It's usually hard for me to get that whole spiel out. Whenever people ask me what they are, like, I'll try to say all this, and then, like, they just get so excited they talk over me. And, like, so sometimes it comes out, like, too fast and people can't understand what I'm saying. But yeah, there's magnets, literally magnets, quartz, which I collect from Quartz Mountain right next to Giant Rock and Joshua Tree. There's just, there's so much to them, and it takes a long time to explain what exactly they are. But, they're energy channeling devices. They're really cool for carrying around at festivals and things like that. I have a few larger ones left, only a few larger ones. My last collection, I just came out with a bunch of smaller ones because I thought people preferred the smaller ones, but apparently people prefer the bigger ones. This one right here especially is really cool, the selenite zebra one. But yeah, these two right here are staff size. They're really cool for carrying around to festivals. I always go hiking with them. That's my main thing. If you follow me on social media, people like to joke around. Pretty much every picture of me is, someone told me one time, they're like, Apolla, every picture I see of you, you're on a rock holding a stick. It's pretty funny, but that's what I do. I go on adventures all over the place, and I carry my shaman spears with me. And so every spear is charged onto an energetic collective. So basically how that works is it's through the idea of quantum entanglement, and it's through Quantum Touch, which is an energy practice that I use. Basically, you can charge everything onto an energetic collective through the idea of quantum entanglement. So every new spear I make is charged to the collective and makes the whole collective stronger. I've probably made hundreds of spears by this point. At least a couple hundred, I'm assuming. Maybe more. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been doing this for like 5 years now. And yeah, I've sold a lot, and a lot of really amazing people have spears. So just think, like, all these interesting people that have spears, they're charging the whole collective. So if you happen to have a spear, you're charging the whole collective. You're getting energy from them. And get this, I actually met the Baetylus crystal skull last week, and it charged my spear. And so now the main spear I'm using to charge all my other spears is charged by the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull. So pretty wild stuff. So make sure you check those out. And by the way, if you're interested in this, they are all autographed by yours truly. Some people hit me up asking for autographs, but if you want an autograph, just buy one of my spears. And this is the Shaman Spears Minis collection. So these are just kind of, I don't know, I never really did this before, but I made these like smaller ones. They're just kind of like smaller and lesser priced items. Also, I have these really sick Moon Maiden headdresses, which are all uniquely handcrafted by yours truly. And they can fit to any head size. They're very lightweight. So those are pretty cool. It's the first time I made them. So I should price them at like $500 each, because of the time that went into them and everything, but I'm actually only pricing them at $250. So pretty cool. I also have lots of, I don't know, I believe I have, so this I Believe in Humans t-shirt, which is the actual first ever Apollo's Odyssey t-shirt promotional material. And it actually says Apollo's Odyssey on the back. It has my show logo, by the way. It actually says on the side 1 of 30. So all these that have been made, there's only basically it'll show that you have 1 of 30 of these shirts that have ever been made. So pretty cool. Once these are all gone, then I will make a new kind of shirt to sell on here. So it's a one of a kind, and if you're interested in one, go ahead and check that out. I have probably 15 left or something like that. I've sold quite a few already, and there's some left. So check that out. Also, I got these really interesting Orgonite daggers. These new ones I made are really sick. Oh my god. I put like selenite and like rosebuds and black tourmaline in them. So definitely check those out. Those are really cool. And I got some new Orgonite pyramids up on here. All made by yours truly. And also all these necklaces that have been on here for a while now. So check those out. Alright, you guys, enough with the commercials. Enough with the commercial break. Okay. Oh, jeez. Sorry. Okay. By the way, that is at shamanspears.com, and I have shamanspears.com in my description and right here at the ticker at the bottom of the screen. So make sure you check that out. Okay, so tonight's show. Someone says move the mic a bit. It's a distraction or some distortion. Let me know if I sound okay. And no, Sean Thomas here, who's watching on Twitch. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to me on Twitch, like, I do stream to Twitch now. I think only DJ Sean Thomas is like the only person that knows I have a Twitch show. So I do have a Twitch show. I don't really know how to use it or anything, but you can go on there and check it out. I'm just streaming everything simultaneously on these different platforms, so feel free to go check that out. But yeah, so DJ Sean Thomas on Twitch says, did you finish your control flight deck? You know, I still need to get those controllers going here. I keep forgetting about that. I've just had so much going on. And honestly, I need some more donations from you lovely fans out there to keep that going, because, you know, it's been a lot of work. I had to pay a lot for the studio, and unfortunately, you know, I get paid travel fees to go on these adventures for these different conferences, but I don't necessarily get paid to speak at them. So if you guys want me to continue with my journey and you want to help me out, please feel free to do that. Jeanette here says, I have my alien shaman spear. Yeah, I hope that's working out well for you. Yeah. Oh, also, oh man, I left it over here. I forgot to mention, I was going to show it, but I left it too far away from where I'm sitting. But every spear comes with a sacred scroll that talks about what it means to have one. They look really cool. They look like real, like ancient scrolls. I made them myself. So those are pretty cool. That's another little selling point for you guys. And I will be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo in the middle of September. So this whole collection, and I'm bringing some of this collection to Camp Disclosure. So if you want some from this collection, it may be gone pretty soon here. So make sure you get those before they leave. Okay, so tonight's episode. Oh, okay, that was a lot. Let me take a drink here. Okay, tonight's episode, I am going to be talking about the Omphalos Stone. You probably never heard of it before, or maybe you have. But I had a crazy synchronicity with it. Oh, thanks for the donation, Matthew here. Okay, my super chat does work. Thank you. Okay, I was just trying to figure that out because, you know, it's just, I haven't been getting any super chats lately, so I just want to know if that was working or not. Thank you so much. But yeah, so the Omphalos Stone is basically, I had a really weird synchronicity with it in Mount Shasta, and I'll get to that. But apparently I have some sort of connection with this stone since this weird synchronicity happened with it for me. So I never heard of it. A lot of you are singing here, you've never heard of it either. So I'll talk about it. So I didn't think it was a real thing because I was reading about it in this book, Ancestors of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley, which is actually the book that comes before The Mists of Avalon in the series by Marion Zimmer Bradley. And it's called Ancestors of Avalon, but it's actually about Atlantis. And it's really, really sick. And so I'll just give you a short overview on that book. And before I go into that, let me just pull it up here so you can see. If you're interested in purchasing this book, this is it right here. And the little description here says, Marion Zimmer Bradley's beloved Avalon saga continues with the dramatic story of the ancestors of Avalon, from their life on the doomed island of Atlantis to their escape to the mist-shrouded Isle of Britain. So this is extremely interesting, this book I've been reading here. Oh, Zune, thanks so much for the donation. I really appreciate that. Yes, it is working. You guys are showing me love. Thank you so much. Okay, so this book right here. So basically what it's about is Atlantis. So it's set in Atlantis, but it's set at the very end of the time of Atlantis. And in the book, they describe Atlantis as a worldwide civilization that was a seafaring civilization, and it wasn't just one island, it's a lot of different islands, or, you know, these sea kingdoms with this very highly advanced race that were, but in this book they describe it as more spiritually advanced, not as much technologically. Oh my gosh, thanks ×1 for the donation. Really appreciate it. But yeah, so, you know, it's really interesting because in the book, like, Atlantis had already almost completely fallen. Most of the sea kingdoms, a lot of the previous ones over the several hundred years previously had fallen due to earthquakes. There had been all these cataclysms, and there's only 12 sea kingdoms left. And so these 12 sea kingdoms, they basically, there was a prophecy, and obviously, so these people, the Atlanteans, they were very spiritually advanced, and there were like savages on other lands, but they weren't like advanced like how these people were, and they were not necessarily technical, like they didn't have like phones and things like that, but they had like different types of technology, and they were so spiritually advanced that they didn't really need technology per se. But they even like they had a different kind of metal. It's really interesting what she gets into on this, because she talks about having these different they have these different kinds of metals, and all these interesting things just kind of come up that she definitely did her research on. Like, it actually goes into how they had different gods and goddesses they worshiped that weren't like any cultures we have now. They had a completely different constellations. The sky looked completely different because it was so long ago. The stars were different. And also, the solstices and the equinoxes happen at different times of the year. So I think that's really interesting, and that's completely 100% true. So it's really fascinating, the details that goes into with all of this. So basically, it starts out, it's like those are the remaining Atlanteans. There's 12 sea kingdoms, or no, I'm sorry, not 12. There's 6 sea kingdoms left, and so they take 2 of the most advanced, either spiritually or through like a certain lineage, young adults from each of these 6 sea kingdoms, and they basically train them, because there's a prophecy that the Atlantis is about to completely sink under the water. So they're training these 6 what they call acolytes, which is very interesting, because I was actually an acolyte in church when I was younger, and like what I was chosen to like basically every service in front of like thousands of people every Sunday. I would have to walk with my neighbor boyfriend Derek. We would actually had to put on robes every Sunday morning and walk down the aisle through the middle of the church with like these like bell things, and we would have to like light all the candles, and then at the end we come up and like unlight them all. It was really interesting. But in this book, the acolytes are what they call these young adults, which they're training to carry on the knowledge of Atlantis. And a lot of this knowledge has to do with, it's very fascinating, because some of this knowledge has to do with toning, they call it, but it's basically where they all can like sing these different tones, and together, if they do it all properly together, they can raise stones and lift stones. And they actually at one point get into building Stonehenge. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. So at the beginning of this book, obviously all these earthquakes, all this crazy stuff is happening, and they realize, okay, the prophecy is true and Atlantis is about to fall. So they take all these young adults, the acolytes, and they all have to come together, and basically there's this stone that they say is like it was saved from the previous devastations of Atlantis, called the Omphalos Stone, and it's actually buried under the mountain somewhere, and they had to go and dig it up because it had been buried under previous cataclysms that happened. So they take it out, and they have in this temple, and they're all kind of preparing these ships to leave. And it's kind of like how a natural disaster, what would happen in society now. Like, some people believe that it's going to fall the rest of the way, and some people don't, and some people know that it's going to fall, and they're like, I don't care, I'm just going to die. So they have all these ships prepared, and they're getting ready, and all these earthquakes are happening, and then all of a sudden, this mountain that's like this kind of mountain that the whole community is on the foot of, in this like main part of Atlantis, the top just blows off, and it becomes a volcano, and like lava starts coming down, and so they all have to rush and save the Omphalos Stone, bring it onto a ship, and the acolytes get split up. One of them gets hit in the head and dies as he's trying to get the Omphalos Stone onto the ship. There's like major devastation, and there's so much ash and smoke in the air, like no one could find anyone. So they get split apart, and some of the acolytes go on one ship, some go on another. And, some of them, most of the people that were on the ships, those ships stayed together, and they ended up docking near where like Stonehenge is now, the closest shore to that area. That's where most of the people end up. Some of the people end up going to which is basically now called the Tor, which is rumored to be where Avalon is. And if you've purchased one of my spears, you'll know I have a major connection with Avalon and King Arthur and that whole story. If you purchase a spear, you will get a scroll talking about the connection with my spears and Avalon. So make sure you check that out. If you get a spear, you will get one of those. But so Avalon is rumored to be on the Tor, and all the stories by Marion Zimmer Bradley talk about Avalon. And it's supposed to be this place that's kind of like it's kind of like a bridge between the spiritual world and the material world. So it's a very interesting place. It's supposed to be like the realm of the goddess, female Mother Earth kind of energy. Yeah, I definitely want to go to Avalon on the tour. I agree with you. Oh, thanks, City L, for the donation. You guys are showing me so much love tonight. It's so much appreciated. Seriously, it's much needed. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, Jeanette here says, I love your write-up about King Arthur, Merlin, etc. Yeah, if you get a spirit, you will get an ancient scroll that talks about it. So it's kind of interesting. And what's interesting is Carrie Cassidy with Project Camelot. She has the same vibe going, and it's really funny. I mean, obviously her show's Project Camelot. I had dinner with her recently, and we were talking about it, and she said it's like the magic of Avalon, which keeps her show going. And I'm like, that's so crazy, because my spears, I have a connection with Avalon with my spears. It's so weird. Really interesting. So, I don't know. I guess maybe I got that going with my stuff, too. But, yeah. So, basically, some of these refugees from Atlantis end up, and it's only one ship that ends up at the Tor. And there's a a community of, savages that, basically, most of the Atlanteans would consider them savages, but they were just kind of these people that were very connected to the land. They weren't, the Atlanteans were usually, tall, redheaded or, blondish. These people were kind of, a little darker, shorter, with black hair. And they lived in this land. And so the Atlanteans just kind of joined them, the Atlanteans that ended up there, and it was mostly the women, the female priestess acolytes were the ones that kind of ended up there. And so I'm not going to go too much into the story, but they're the ones that end up having the Omphalos Stone, whereas, they were able to rescue it on their ship. And none of the other ships of Atlanteans knew about this or knew that they had survived. And they're actually parked, just over a mountain range at what is now modern-day Stonehenge. So in the story, they get into the idea of toning and basically what it means to, raise stones through singing these different tones. And they end up building Stonehenge as this, basically this powerhouse to cause things to happen energetically. And so I'm just kind of getting into that. I'm not finished with the book yet, and that's the part I'm reading right now. And so I'll get into my connection with the Omphalos Stone in a bit here, the synchronicity that I had with that. But before I get into that, I also had a weird synchronicity with this. I swear, I don't know, I say this on my show a lot, but every time I read something, it's the next thing I'm supposed to read. It's almost like the book calls me before I call it, and then when I'm reading it, it's everything just comes into my experience. It's so weird. It's I don't even understand it. It really freaks me out sometimes. Honestly, it's if I want to go on a trip somewhere, I'll just read a book about the place, and then all of a sudden I'll get offered to be there or something. It's really weird. But okay, so before I get into more with the Omphalos Stone, I'm reading all this about Stonehenge and everything, and all of a sudden, scientists, there's actually these articles coming out about Stonehenge that just came out 2 days ago when I was reading about all this. So I want to share this with you guys because it's very interesting, and it actually goes along with what I've been reading with this. So this is by ArtNet, and this has been coming out everywhere. But scientists have conducted tests that reveal Stonehenge is made from a nearly indestructible ancient material. A rare core sample removed years ago contains a form of quartz that doesn't erode or crumble. This came out August 13th, a few days ago. A long-lost piece of England's Stonehenge monument is helping experts understand the mysterious prehistoric structure. Analysis of a core sample taken from one of the site's massive slabs suggests that the stone's geochemical composition may have made it uniquely well-equipped to stand the test of time. Made from 99.7% quartz crystals, the stones are practically indestructible, according to a new study published in the journal PLOS One. Now, we've got a good idea why this stuff's still standing there. Study co-author David Nash, a professor of physical geography at the University of Brighton, told Business Insider. The stone is incredibly durable and it's really resistant to erosion and weathering. The study was made possible thanks to a former diamond cutter, Robert Phillips, who died last year. He did repair work on Stonehenge in 1958, drilling into Stone 58 to help re-erect a fallen trilithon of 3 stones. When the work was done, Phillips was allowed to keep one of the 3.5-foot cylindrical cores as a souvenir. He returned it 60 years later, opening new avenues of research into Stonehenge's origins. Taking new samples from the protected monument is prohibited. Experts were able to conduct destructive testing on half the sample. Getting access to the core drilled from Stone 58 was very much the holy grail for our research, Nash said in a statement. It is extremely rare as a scientist that you get a chance to work on samples of such national and international importance. Working with experts from the British Geological Survey, English Heritage, and National History Museum in London, Nash subjected the Phillips core, as it is known, as well as a second sample from the Salisbury Museum in England to X-ray and CT scans, examining them under a microscope. What they saw were tiny grains of quartz arranged in an incredibly strong interlocking matrix of crystals, providing an ideal building material. These cements are incredibly strong. I've wondered if the builders of Stonehenge could tell something about the stone properties and not choose the closest, biggest boulders, but the ones that were the most likely to stand the test of time. Geochemically, the Stone 58 sample is a match to 50 of the 52 remaining sarsen's. So any findings derived from the cores likely apply to the vast majority of the monument. The specific kind of stone is called silcrete, which forms from groundwater rushing through buried sediment. Dating found that the stones were largely composed of eroded sediments from the Paleogene period from 66 to 23 million years ago. But they also incorporate much older material from the Mesozoic era between 252 million and 66 million years ago, and the Mesoproterozoic era, an astounding 1 billion to 1.6 billion years ago. Holy crap. The Phillips core had already allowed Nash and his team to solve one of Stonehenge's most enduring mysteries, the origin of its monolithic stones. It was long suspected that the sarsen's came from the chalk hills of Marlborough Downs. Testing on the Phillips core allowed researchers to identify the stone's geochemical fingerprint and match it to stone slabs from a specific location in the Downs known as Westwoods. Stonehenge was likely erected in 2 phases between 5,000 and 4,500 years ago. I don't agree with that, and I think most people wouldn't either. In addition to the massive sarsen's, the monument also includes an interior circle of smaller blue stones. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to... Okay, I thought there would be more on that, but it doesn't really get into it. They just touch on it. They touch on the most interesting part, but they don't really get into it. So that's kind of interesting. So basically what they're saying is this quartz is like interlocking, which is not something that a natural stone is able to do. And there's other articles that are coming out about this right now, but they're just touching on it. They don't explain why or how crazy that is. I mean, that basically means that this stone was somehow altered. it was either altered or it was created, because it's not natural for this stone to be this interlocking quartz in this way. So it's very interesting, and that kind of goes along with my whole story. So in the story, basically they're talking about how Stonehenge, because it's like in the center of these different ley lines, it was able to be used as this powerhouse for energy. So they're able to use it to direct energy down different ley lines to certain areas, and it could be used as a weapon, basically. So this is very interesting. And so that's kind of, and I haven't read the whole book yet, so I don't know what happens with all that. But getting back to the Omphalos Stone. So the Omphalos Stone in the story, they set it in the mountain under the Tor in like some caves. And, throughout the story, there's like all this power coming out of it. Like bright light will just come out of it randomly. And priestesses that were very clairaudient would come around it and get all these, they would hear things coming through it. And people that are clairvoyant were getting visions from it just being around it. And they were saying that, there's just saying all these very strange things about it. So I'm reading this book, and I think that this stone was just made up in the story. I'd never heard of it before. And then this last weekend when I'm in Mount Shasta, and I was reading this part right before I get to Mount Shasta, never heard of this stone ever in my entire life. And I get invited to this special place in Mount Shasta that you can only get invited to. But it's basically, there's this pyramid somewhere on Mount Shasta, which is involved with some people that are part of the Order of Melchizedek. And I got invited to go there and meditate in it. It was very interesting. And the person who ran that whole excursion, he actually started giving us this whole spiel about Mount Shasta. And he said, at one point he mentions, the Omphalos Stone is actually buried here in Mount Shasta. And I just, my jaw dropped. I was like, I'm sorry, what? What are you talking about? The Omphalos Stone? I'm like, did you just say the Omphalos Stone? And, no one else, knew what he was talking about. And I was just like, hold up. Okay, I'm reading about this right now, and I thought this was fiction. And he was like, no, it's not. And he called the Omphalos Stone, so I'm guessing that's Omphalos for short. And so he goes on to tell me that apparently there's these different Atlantean stones that were buried at different places around the world, and the Omphalos Stone is buried in Mount Shasta. He said that there's another one that's apparently buried somewhere in Arkansas and other places. And since then, after speaking with him, I actually looked up everywhere online trying to find this. I didn't find anything about it. So I'm sure it's very secret, though. This is something they don't want people to know about. And I don't know, it was just a really weird synchronicity. So it really tripped me out. I think you guys would probably agree. That's pretty trippy. I mean, I never heard about this in my life, and I'm reading about it. And then they're like, oh yeah, the Omphalos Stone is basically buried right beneath your feet somewhere in this mountain. I'm like, dude, what the heck? How is this happening? So it was really weird. So I started doing some research, and I decided I wanted to do tonight's show about it. I found some cool articles that kind of go along with it, and how it's I couldn't find anywhere how it was linked to Atlantis, but apparently the Greek people had it. It is also called the Baetylus stone, or the navel of the earth. So I want to get into what I found about it. I can only find it being associated with Greek mythology, and it is a real stone that you can find, or their version of it. But apparently there's another one that's an Atlantean version that's buried under Mount Shasta from, I don't know if this is true or not, but that's what I was told, and it was a weird synchronicity. So definitely really tripped out about it. So, okay. I pulled up some interesting different articles about it, and I just want to get into these and delve into them with you guys. And, we'll just try to come to a conclusion together on exactly what this all means. Okay, so first, let me see here. This is on the site Ancient Origins. So here's the Greek one, or one of them. So apparently there's a bunch of them. This isn't the Atlantean one, from to my knowledge. But okay, so here is the sacred Omphalos Stone, navel of the world and communicator of the gods. An omphalos is a powerful symbolic artifact made from stone. Considered the navel of the world, the central point from which terrestrial life originated, an omphalos was an object of Hellenic religious symbolism, believed to allow direct communication with the gods. So, the gods, like, maybe that means aliens. Maybe you can communicate with aliens with this stone. That's pretty wild. In Greek mythology, it is said that the Titan Kronos devoured his children as soon as they were born due to his mother's prophecy that he would be overthrown by his own children. Although Kronos managed to devour his first 5 children, his wife Rhea sought Gaia's help to devise a plan to save the 6th child, Zeus. As a result, Zeus was hidden in a cave on Mount Ida in Crete and escaped being eaten by his father. In the meantime, Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling clothes and gave it to her husband, who promptly swallowed it, thinking it was his son. When Zeus had grown up, he forced his father to disgorge the contents of his stomach using an emetic. The stone came out first, followed by Zeus's siblings. When the help of his brothers and sisters, Zeus defeated the Titans and became the new king of the gods. The story of the stone, however, does not end there. Ugh, that's disturbing. In another Greek myth, Zeus is said to have released 2 eagles at opposite ends of the world and commanded them to fly across the earth to meet at its center. It was at Delphi that the 2 eagles finally met, and Zeus placed the stone under the glens of Mount Parnassus as a sign to humanity. As the stone is placed at the center of the earth, it was called the Omphalos Stone, the meaning of omphalos being navel. A later legend states that the god Apollo slayed the great serpent Python so that he could establish his oracular temple at Delphi, and that the Omphalos marked the exact spot where he slayed Python. The myth may sometimes be found on ancient coins that depict an Omphalos stone with a serpent wound around it. Although the Omphalos Stone at Delphi is the most famous of its kind, it is by far not the only one. Another omphalos associated with both Apollo and divination is the omphalos found at Keramikos, northwest of Athens' Acropolis. In 2012, archaeologists were cleaning the stone when they discovered that it was actually a fancy lid covering a wall. The stone was mounted on a slab of marble, so the archaeologists moved it. They discovered the well's walls were covered in 20 repetitions of the same ancient Greek inscription. I don't know how to read that. Come to me, O Paean, and bring with you the true oracle. Paean here refers to Apollo. In 2016, it was reported that the well was likely used in hydromancy, divination with water. Wow, that's so fascinating. I just want to read that again. Come to me, O Paean, and bring with you the true oracle. Wow. Omphalos stones have also been found at sites such as Thebes and Karnak in Egypt, and in buildings of the Vinca culture in southeastern Europe. Yet these stones function differently from the Delphic Omphalos stone. For instance, many buildings of the Vinca culture contained an Omphalos stone, indicating that they may have held some ritual significance to the people of that ancient culture. Another type of Omphalos stone is the Baetyl, which were sacred stones found in various places in the ancient Levant. Rather than marking the center of the earth, Baetyls were more closely associated with the divine. It is unclear, however, whether Baetyls were themselves objects of worship or aniconic symbols of divine presence. The word Baetyl may have originated in the Punic Betel, or Semitic Bethel, both meaning house of God. According to some ancient authors, the Baetyls were believed to be meteorites. One of the most well-known Baetyls in the ancient world was the Baetyl of Emesa. During the reign of the notorious Elagabalus, the Baetyl of Emesa, which was a black stone sacred to the god Elagabal, was brought to Rome and installed at the head of the Roman pantheon. Prior to becoming emperor, Elagabalus was a priest of Elagabal, hence his decision to elevate the status of the god he served. On coins, the stone is shown to be smooth, and an eagle is sometimes shown in front of the top of the stone. Coins from Elagabalus' reign also show the Baetyl in ceremonial procession, perhaps depicting the sacred stone's entry into Rome. Although not marked by the Omphalos Stone, there are several other places on Earth that are claimed to be the center of the world. These include the Incan capital of Cusco in modern-day Peru, the Sumerian city of Eridu in modern-day Iraq, Allahabad in India, believed to be the creation point of the universe. By inhabiting the central area of the world, a people may obtain a heightened sense of importance. If so, then it is no wonder that so many places in the ancient world have been claimed to be the center of the world. This desire to be at the center of the world is perhaps still with us today, though the Earth's center is seen not so much in physical terms, but in political, economic, and cultural terms. Very interesting. Wow. Okay, so that's a general description of what these stones are that are all over the world. And of course, it doesn't talk about Atlantis because this is just, a more by the books analysis of them. So I haven't really been able to find much that connects it to Atlantis, which is, what these people were telling me and what I've been reading in this book. So that remains to be seen. But, it's interesting because they keep talking about how these stones were used to communicate with the divine or with gods. And it makes me wonder if that somehow alludes to ancient astronauts, as ancient aliens would say, or, ETs. So, that's interesting. Or, it could be real gods. Who knows? But, maybe at one point, these stones were actually used to communicate with ETs. Who knows? I mean, apparently all these different cultures all over the world worship them, saying that they were used to communicate with gods. And I wonder why that is, because I haven't read much about the content of it, but who knows? What if maybe, some sort of ancient aliens came at one point and gave these stones to these cultures, and at one point maybe they were able to transmit sound or information through them somehow, because why else would people be worshiping these stones? It's really interesting. Obviously there's these legends made about them, but there has to be something to that. There has to be a reason for these legends to come about, in my opinion. Deb Shelburne says, but you can assume the Atlantean connection given the Egyptian Greco locations for the stones. True. That is very true. That's a great point, Deb. A lot of people say that, and this book doesn't cover it. This book I just explained here. But, a lot of people say that the Atlanteans, there were 12 tribes. And, it's interesting. There's also the Jewish people talk about there being 12 tribes, but there are apparently these 12 tribes of Atlantis that split off on and went off into all sides of the earth to carry on the information and be able to pass it down for the future of humanity. So some of these people became the Mayans, some of them became the Druids, some of them became the Egyptians. Who knows? Maybe some went to Antarctica or something. I heard some of them also became the Iroquois. That's something that's very widely talked about. Michael E. Hill does a lot on that. Yeah, some probably became the Indian people. Who knows? But I definitely and the Greeks. So a lot of people say that actually a lot of the original Greek islands were a part of Atlantis at one point, or maybe they were like kind of some side islands of the original center of Atlantis. But there's a lot of connection with the Greeks and the Egyptians in regards to Atlantis. So that's really fascinating. So if the Greek people and the Atlantean people are both worshiping the Omphalos stones and saying that they were very important, that they're connected to the gods, that definitely means there's something they have a connection with Atlantis. Definitely, that's something that I mean, if it's from the beginning of their culture, they're talking about these stones, then definitely the stone was used in Atlantis, or different versions of this stone. So very interesting. That's a great point. Jeanette here says they hold info in our program like the Lemurian crystals. Definitely. I I just I experienced that a lot over the last week, and I think that's really fascinating. Yeah, so very, very interesting. Quartz definitely holds it can hold infinite amounts of information, and scientists are just now starting to figure this out. Like, obviously, we have quartz in our phones, our watches, transistor radios, everything, but modern day scientists are just now starting to realize how much information can be stored in quartz crystal. So, really amazing, super interesting. So I want to know what's in these stones. Like so these stones, they look just kind of like natural stones to me, not as much like quartz. So I think that's kind of interesting because maybe over time they were like pure quartz crystal, but they kind of like eroded and changed like coloration. So that's also something to think about here. I mean, obviously at one point the pyramids were sited in white limestone, and they don't look like that anymore. So who knows? Okay, so I have some other articles pulled up in regards to this. So let me see what else I have here. Okay, so this is interesting. And like I said, I really tried as hard as I could to find what I could find on the Atlantean connection with these. So I found this article that goes over it, and I don't really know what this site is, but this was very fascinating. So I'm going to get into this. It's kind of long, but we'll see how much we can get through here. The Tree of Life Technology and Modern Physics. And check out this image right here. Eric von Daniken goes over this quite a bit. In recent years, the use of crystals in advanced scientific experiments shows the potential of crystal as a medium for space-time manipulation. In 2016, there were reports of scientists having fashioned crystals that defy the laws of physics. U.S. scientists have fashioned crystals that seem to defy the law of physics and break discrete time symmetry. More recently, a quantum crystal has been used to observe the bending of the space-time of the cosmos, or an exotic effect theorized to occur in immense gravitational fields, for example, near a black hole. I came to a conclusion that crystals have the capacity to be used as instruments of time-space manipulation, or precisely for opening portals or accessing other dimensions. I came to this conclusion not from scientific study, but from the studying ancient myths and art. Even though it sounds extraordinary to link advanced physics to ancient myths, there are rational reasons for doing so. This contradiction exists because of fallacies currently existing that myths are a collection of fictional stories from the past and not historical records. The truth is that myths, often expressed in colorful language and symbolism, are for most part records of real historical events. The second fallacy is that the ancient past was all primitive. There is growing archaeological evidence that there were advanced high civilizations in the ancient past with advanced technology. The evidence is often evident in ancient advanced architectural monuments. NASA recently funded a study that found that advanced ancient civilizations were susceptible to collapse, and over 30 advanced civilizations have actually collapsed before us. This does not simply imply the collapsed civilization like ancient Egyptian, pre-Inca, Greek, Roman, Sumerian, and Olmec, but going further back beyond 10,000 years. Academia today might dismiss ideas of an advanced ancient civilization like Atlantis as mere fantasy, but few years ago, who would have imagined a site like Göbekli Tepe, dating back 12,000 years ago, would be exhumed from the ground, yielding signs of advanced architecture and art. Smithsonian Magazine states, Turkey's stunning Göbekli Tepe upends the conventional law of the rise of civilization. Ancient history is rife with stories of the use of crystals to achieve incredible feats, from the magical crystal stones of Atlantis used to light up entire cities or as weapons of mass destruction to the Omphalos Stone of Greece used for interdimensional communication. Fresh in many people's minds is the biblical story of the crystal stone tablets of Moses, housed in the ark and used not only as interdimensional communication device but also as a deadly weapon. Cosmic portals and stargates. I was examining the ancient Tree of Life myth when I noticed the curious illustrations of Sumerian and Akkadian sacred trees. They are typically depicted with the lattice patterns resembling crystals, giving them a mechanical appearance. As if that is not enough, these trees are shown with two strange beings who appear to operate the trees with some handheld gadgets or devices. It is often said that it informs us of the function. As I look deeper into the mythological descriptions of the functions of these trees, my hunch of a link between the Tree of Life and crystals became more solidified. The theme that began to emerge with my analysis is that ancient cultures viewed the Tree of Life as a connecting mechanism between the physical world and other worlds. They commonly viewed it as a means to eternity, a channel to the afterlife, and a conduit to the Milky Way galaxy or beyond. In principle, the Tree of Life's function was to transport humans and non-humans from Earth to other galaxies or dimensions. In today's world, an object or artifact that has the functions ascribed to the Tree of Life is simply considered to be a technologically advanced machine for stellar and interdimensional travel. As often portrayed in our movies, our current technologies and scientific conceptions enable us to view this machinery in various manifestations. These include teleportation devices as well as Stargate and wormhole travel technologies. Hence, what we're looking at in the tree symbol is not simply vegetation, but advanced technology for traveling beyond Earth and the physical realm. This concept is clearly revealed in the story of King Pakal in Mayan tradition, who uses the sacred tree as a vehicle for galactic travel to the stars and the underworld. Symbol structures and hidden technologies. Many ancient cultures clearly stated that their gods and kings used portals to travel to celestial locations. However, when we read these accounts today, we often doubt if they really meant what they said and casually relegate their words to mere religious symbolism or fictitious cultural myths. When looking at the various symbols around the world dealing with the subject of links between the physical world and other worlds, the patterns we see give us a sense of an ancient worldview rather than the isolated beliefs confined to one location. The mythological imagery, symbolism, and meaning connect beyond geographical locations and maintain a consistent theme. One strange ancient object from Greece called the Omphalos Stone resembles the Syrian Tree of Life in geometry with a lattice pattern arrangement like a crystal. The Omphalos Stone is considered the Earth's navel stone. Navel locations are considered connections to the Earth, and the invisible realms are usually connected with places like Delphi, Jerusalem, Egypt, Cusco, to mention a few. The Omphalos Stone was believed to be an axis mundi, like the Tree of Life, which had the ability to allow direct communication with the gods. As the story goes, the Omphalos in Jerusalem is represented by the foundation stone in the dome of the rock, where the Ark of the Covenant was originally placed. Portable boxes similar in shape to the biblical Ark of the Covenant were used in ancient Egypt. It is then possible that the Ark of the Covenant was originally an Egyptian artifact Moses stole before escaping Egypt. An Egyptian artifact called the Benben stone. The Benben stone is pyramid-shaped and connected to the primeval mound and the Bennu bird in Egyptian myths, and is also the prototype for capstones placed on pyramid tops. The illustrations of the Egyptian primeval mound resemble the Greek Omphalos Stone. The configuration of a jed pillar and a box on a mound is reflected in Buddhist stupas as shown below. The stupas at Borobudur in Indonesia are unique in their shapes and arrangements. The Borobudur site is comprised of 72 stupas shaped like bells. Described by some as wombs of transformation, their geometry gives the impression of a mechanical device turned into stone. This stupa form, which now symbolizes Buddhist spiritual concepts, may have previously represented an ancient form of technology associated with space or interdimensional travel. The bell shape has interesting properties. As we will see toward the end of this chapter, the Borobudur stupas look like machines, and some of them actually have human statues inside them positioned as if they were piloting spaceships. It is possible they were built from residual memories of ancient technologies, but converted into symbols of Buddhist principles. Investigations by architect Shirin Amendra on the, I don't know how to pronounce that, stupa of Anuradharpa, whatever, in Sri Lanka, concluded that the design revealed the intent to create a giant capacitor capable of exchanging electric charges with the heavens. She further questioned if it was used for transforming thoughts into some electrical power form before transmitting them to celestial realms. In the book The Symbolism of the Stupa, Professor Adrian Snodgrass from the University of West Sydney in Australia, a leading authority on Buddhist architecture and symbolism, says that the most sacred Buddhist symbols are said to have been provided by non-human sources. Simply put, the stupa design has extraterrestrial origins. Cosmologist Lard Scranton puts the nail in the coffin when he says the similarities between the Dogon granary and the Buddhist stupa are aligned rituals run deep. Both are interpreted on one mythological level as representing the actual vehicle or within which a revered mythical character, ancestor, or teacher descended from the heavens to impart civilizing knowledge. He is basically saying that Buddhists support the position that the stupa represents a technological machine of galactic travel. The lotus flower is a spiritual symbol for many cultures around the world, past and present. Being a symbol of divine birth, regeneration, and spiritual development, is considered a sacred flower in Buddhist, Hindu, and Egyptian religions. Ancient Egyptians used the lotus flower to symbolize the sun and rebirth. Some depictions show a person emerging from the lotus, symbolizing transformation and rebirth into a different world or dimension. This implies that the lotus also symbolizes a real wormhole through which one could be transported to another dimension or galactic location. In terms of geometry and energy patterns, it is also a lattice pattern resembling a crystal. The lotus has the capacity to embody toroidal energy in torsion fields, making it a hyperdimensional vortex. Just as onion layers can be compared to a dimension, the lotus and pine cone also embody a form that evokes multiple dimensions constantly unfolding. Another pertinent artifact is an ancient Indus tablet depicting a deity called Amuvan in a gate or an arch. In Indian tradition, Amuvan is a lord of space and time. The gate has a leaf-shaped design and resembles the Sumerian tree of life, as well as both Sumerian and Egyptian cosmic gates with Atlantis patterns. Further, he has a trident or antennas on his head resembling Native American off-world beings in their rock art. His hands are clearly not human but alien. The stars depicted at the bottom of the tablets solidify the notion that Amuvan is a galactic being using a stargate for interstellar travel. Researcher Wim Borsmoen described his gate as an arched tree open from below. Even that view still supports the Stargate conclusion because the sacred tree is a stargate to other worlds. Finding the lost cosmic tree device. The cosmic tree or tree of life is a metaphor from ancient myths generally relegated to cultural and religious beliefs. This myth is stacked in multiple layers of value beyond the moral and esoteric. It also has layers providing historical and technological information from the ancient past. I'm suggesting that the cosmic tree is a technological artifact whose discovery today can change human history. Rediscovering the tree of life will not only reveal our hidden past, but may give us secrets to instant interstellar travel, free energy, interdimensional travel, and physical longevity. So here, pictured here, are some examples of this tree of life in different cultures around the world. Every culture has a sacred tree, as you can see here. Strangely, when dealing with the ancient symbolism, there are letters and geometric shapes that repeatedly appear on ancient structures and glyphs. These include, amongst others, the letter T, W, E, and H. There is a geometrical and phonetic link between the letter T and the tree of life. This T also repeatedly used in the form of Tau or Tau cross. The Tau T originates from Greek and Phoenician alphabets. Predating that, the T is part of the Egyptian Ankh. The Ankh is comprised of an oval shape called the Ru, mounted on the T cross, as discussed in the previous chapter dealing with Mount Meru. The Ru is a door or portal to the worlds or dimensions. This means the Ankh is a tree of life with an open interdimensional door. If we view the Ankh as an instrument, its purpose could be hidden in the symbolism of its shape. Considering the above symbolism, we can guess that it was used as a portal opener. Many images depict the Ankh being held in one hand and the was scepter in another. The was appears to have been placed on the ground like some kind of grounding device, but drawing energy from the ground and channeling it through the body to the Ankh in the other hand. In the Aztec tradition, the tree of life is depicted in the form of the Tau cross. The Aztec Tau tree includes a sun portal at the base and a bird at the top, similar to the Sumerian and Egyptian depictions. The constellation named Taurus is a combination of Tau and Ru. One wonders if the configuration of the stars in that location forming a T shape also has a location or sun serving the Ru or portal to other galaxies. The Egyptians represented the Taurus constellation with the sacred bull. The sacred bull is portrayed with a solar disk between its horns, which also suggesting a dimensional portal opening in the Taurus horn star location. The Mayan sacred tree is symbolized by a T, and the letter T shape was incorporated in several architectural features in Mesoamerica. The T shape is not only used on Mayan temple, window, and doorway designs, but also found in North America. T-shaped windows on buildings have been associated with the Anasazi Indians, whose territories or influence included not only the Chaco Canyon in northwestern New Mexico, but also Colorado, Arizona, and Utah. Beyond the Americas, the use of T-shaped designs on ancient sites is also found at several locations around the world. One of the most distinct features on the site of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, are the T-shaped columns. There are Tau stone structures at ancient Paleolithic settlements in Minorca, Balearic Islands of Spain, and these sites include Torre de Galmes, Total de Dalt. Sorry, I can't pronounce a lot of these, but yeah. Okay, Tione stones in the Great Pyramid. Instead of being just a nice list of coincidences, the T letter and the Tau door symbolism turns out to be important and capable of connecting the Great Pyramid, the Omphalos, the Jed Pillar, and the Ark of the Covenant back to the Tree of Life. Identifying the Tree of Life would have been much easier if we had remains or remains of its components. All we have to go by today is the information on its function and the symbols of its associated components. Nevertheless, if we looked around the world for the oldest object, artifact, or monument, we have to wonder what object would be closest in form or function to the Tree of Life. What ancient objects has or creates toroidal energy geometry is very advanced in design and is connected to myths of stargates and has components also associated with interdimensional travel or communication. The closest fit to the description is in the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid artifact is the most complex of all advanced Paleo-ancient civilization monuments and embodies mathematics, geometry, astronomy, architecture, and advanced engineering. It is located in the center of the Earth's landmass. This fits very well with the descriptions of the Tree of Life, the Axis Mundi, and Mount Meru being in the center of the garden or the center of the world. Despite what it must have been used for over the thousands of years of its existence, there is compelling evidence that it is not originally built to be some pharaoh's tomb, considering its complexity and the effort required to build it and the reasons for its construction that baffled researchers over time. Before we proceed, let's keep in mind the root words. Ta connected to Tau tree cross, discussed above, and Mer connected to Mount Meru, discussed in the previous chapter. Paying attention to the cross-cultural linguistic patterns and the etymologies of names used will prove very helpful. The first clue to its connection with the Tree of Life is the word pyramid. It is generally said that the word pyramid comes from the Greek term meaning fire in the middle, combining the prefix pyr, meaning fire, and mid, meaning middle. This concept of fire in the middle will take shape as we continue with the discussion because it alludes to the technical structure of the pyramid. The Chinese word jin zi ta means pyramid, which the ta meaning tower. The root word ta also appears in the Sanskrit word tapas or top, meaning to heat, to shine, or to burn. The Egyptian term ta is used to mean land, and the symbols for the Sema Tai, representing the union of Upper and Lower Egypt, consists of two beings pulling a cord tied around a T letter. Sema symbol was sometimes used to represent the axis mundi, and the same symbols we related to the Hindu concept of churning the Milky Ocean in the previous chapter, where the central pillar represented Mount Meru. Giza Plateau was also called Ras Tau. The hieroglyph for the letter T is a semicircle said to symbolize bread but represent land. However, it is most likely symbolized as a mound. This makes sense because the land was the primordial mound or omphalos on which the sacred tree grew. It is also likely that the pre-dynastic Egypt, the symbol of Ta, was used as a national symbol rather than the equivalence of the word land. So there's a lot here, and it would take me a long time to uncover all of this. But I just want you guys to check out this site. You can see it at the top pictured here, and I'll actually go back and put it in the comments later. But basically it just keeps going into this, and there's just so much coming out of this, and I'm just barely touching on it. Like right here, it talks about it being associated with firestones, which, oh my god, you guys, this is another synchronicity for me, and I'm just gonna stop this here. Okay, so it's saying here that apparently in Atlantis, they were saying that they were calling these Omphalos stones firestones. And this is really wild because I was actually in a music video called Firestone, which is by, fuck, what's his name? Kygo. So if you'll see me at about the 3-minute mark, I get turned around in the crowd because the guy thinks I'm like this other girl that he's trying to find, and it just happens to be me. But definitely check that out. It has like millions of views, like 80 million views or something now. But yeah, so I'm in that. So that's another weird synchronicity for me. Also, the Sumerians and the Sumerian tablets, they talk about firestones powering spaceships. So that's another weird connection. And, you know, I can just keep going on and on and on with this. And wow, I've already been going on for an hour and a half, so I'm just I'm just gonna stop going on with this because oh my god, it's just wow, there's so much to this. So I definitely recommend checking out that site and just delving into this more. Now I'm going back to read some of your comments now to see what comes up. But I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. I'm sorry, there's like so much I'm putting together with all of this, and actually I honestly didn't even really start looking into all of this until, you know, this show. Like I kind of like skimmed over the articles and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go through all of this with you guys tonight. So that's what I've been doing. Let me see what else I had here. You know, I almost feel that I'm gonna have to do a part 2 of this episode because this is just taking so long and there's so much more that I can get into here. So you know what? I think I will continue with this possibly. I will be traveling. But you know, Tuesday, I think I'll just save my Tuesday show to get back into this and do some more. I'm sorry, you guys, I haven't been doing a lot of interviews lately just because everything, like, my shows have been so last minute lately. It's like there's been so much going on that I don't know until like the day before if I can do the show or not because like I've been all over the place. But you know, like I said, once I get started on this radio show with KGRA, it's looking like KGRA I'll really get into doing these like wild interviews. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be really cool. I will make sure I put that site in the comments. But it says Tree of Life Technology. Just search that and it comes up under that. And if you're looking at the video right now, you can find it here. But yeah, I'll go ahead and put that in the description for you guys. And I think, you know what, I'm just going to read the second half of that in the next show and then go over these other articles I have here because I have a lot more to go on with this. Depp here says, I think the alignment and synchronicity will call for a part 2. I totally agree with you. Honestly, I didn't even really sit down and read a lot of this. I was just saving it for the show, and my mind is being blown just as much as I'm sure you guys are being mind blown. So, yeah, this is really wild. Apparently, I have a connection with this, so I don't know. We'll find out more in the next show, I guess, because I've been going on for a long time. So, before I get off here, again, please check out my shaman spears, because it's what's keeping me going here. You know, I actually am completely doing all this traveling and everything, going to these conferences to get my message out about solutions for humanity. I'm pretty much funding a lot of this on my own. So it would be much appreciated if you guys can, you know, check out my art. And it's like a donation with a present. I will send it out next day. And if you want to order one, go ahead and order it now. I'll ship it out tomorrow, you know, because I'm leaving town Saturday. So if you guys want a spear, they make great gifts. I also have these cheap necklaces. They're only $44.44. So check those out. Yeah, and and these necklaces, by the way, the initiation key necklaces actually have moldavite chips in them. And moldavite, in case you don't know, is from a crashed alien spaceship. Pretty wild. So check those out. Check out my products. Please help keep me going. And we're going to continue having fun here. And KGRA, that's going to be a lot of fun. Also, Aftermath. I'm looking forward to that too. And I'm still finalizing everything with Aftermath. But KGRA, I'm going to start that on September 7th. And I'm going to have a code for you guys soon so that you can go ahead and get subscribed to KGRA and check out my show. So I'm really stoked about that. So until next time on Apollo's Odyssey, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you back here on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. Over and out. Bye, guys.